the most agile and best designed portfolio processes will not likely produce an adaptable competitive business if the enterprise fails to look beyond and address this slow and inflexible traditional annual budgeting process. So Evan, let's dive right in. I'm curious why you believe the annual budgeting process is so challenging.
Traditional budgeting processes support three core business functions or planning objectives. The first is asset allocation. What initiatives are we funding? What resources are we allocating to each different function of the business? The second critical function is forecasting, cash for operations, treasury functions, as well as setting guidance in public companies, guidance to investors and Wall Street. The last and final function is goal setting, setting targets for performance management, business goals and objectives. Now, when you look at it that way, it should be self-evident that these three separate purposes aren't really identical functions and would probably perform better if they each had their own numbers. It is bad to use the same number for a forecast, which should be ruthless and accurate and checked often, with a goal which should be ambitious, inspirational, and shouldn't need to be updated that often. So why are we trying to use the same number for both? We put an enormous amount of effort into planning way too much detail, way too far out in the budget preparation process. Haven't we all had the experience of, 2 months into the fiscal year, some fundamental change in the competitive or environmental landscape causing the entire budget to be useless? We all hate the process, even the CFOs that I talk to. Many companies have chucked their annual budgets. Many of them are actually running the business based on biweekly or monthly assessments of actual cash flow. These kind of budgeting processes incent gamesmanship within the leadership and the management of the organization. We're all incented to maximize our budgets, so we inflate the needs that we declare for operating our business. The performance targets we usually sandbag to make sure that we can easily hit the targets and get our bonuses. So the people that are really political and good at manipulating the organization and the leadership tend to be rewarded with disproportional resources.
I heard you say one time, no business can be fast-moving and adaptable if they wait months for an opportunity to fund a good initiative. And no business can sense and learn by planning once a year. That kind of gets to the heart of Agile portfolio management. We talk about this continuous planning model, our ability to use data to sense and respond what's really needed in the moment. And when I say in the moment, it depends on the cadence of your business and the needs of your customers.
So one of the areas that organizations tend to divorce first from the annual planning process, in my experience, and I think yours, we usually see organizations divorce the forecasting process from the annual cycle. They have a regular cadence of sliding windows or rolling waves. A lot of organizations have actually two, one that's a little further out and less granular, and then one that's really used for cash management that is closer in and very granular. And they're reevaluating these forecasts or updating these forecasts on a regular cadence.
One of the things that I think about when it comes to what do I advise clients goes back to the demand side of the equation. If we can understand the flow of work and develop the right value stream, and then the teams in relationship to that value stream, you fund that value stream directly. And you allow the owners of the business, the owners of the product to make the best decisions in the moment as to what work should be brought to that value stream. Now, you and I have been watching some very large publicly traded companies starting to abandon these inefficient and ineffective budgeting processes. And again, this is kind of a new territory for our industry, so there is no playbook for Agile funding and budgeting, but we're seeing the patterns emerge and organizations bringing in the things that you and I just talked about.
In this series of 5 videos, we've discussed the critical elements of portfolio management and then capped it off today with some background on Agile funding and budgeting practices.
Evan and I have really enjoyed having you with us through the series and look forward to continuing our dialogue. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about Agile portfolio management and business agility, check out solutionsiq.com, and we'll be seeing you in the future. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us.